Hi everyone, this is Mindy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm creating 3 cards using the My Monthly Hero kit, but there is a new kit option available for the My Monthly Hero kits. You have a My Monthly Classic kit, and then there's also a premium edition. So right now on screen, this is the Classic kit. What you would typically find in your Classic kits, we have a layering stencil, stamp set, blending brush, window die, cardstock, and an ink pad. Now the premium kit that they're launching today, this month is including 4 sheets of transfers, fancy dies and coordinating frame cuts, and then there's also a spray included in that kit. So it's everything in the Classic plus those bonus items. There's going to be more information about this over on my blog and also the Hero Arts blog. And I did the introduction video this month for Hero Arts as always, and I went in detail how to use everything in the kit and also explaining the Classic versus the premium option. So for now, I want to share with you inspiration using these kits. I'm going to be using the window die and the layering stencil, which is in the Classic version. So I started by die cutting out that window from some Deluxe white cardstock, and you can use the layering stencil to add color to those images around that window. So the first layer, I'm going to use Cornflower Ink and a blending brush. I'm adding this light blue over the butterflies, which is the first open area of the stencil, and I'm going in a little bit heavier handed in the center portion of the window, and then having it kind of fade out into that light blue. So then I reveal, and we have this beautiful light blue base color for our butterflies. Now Stencil B, the second one, does add details to the butterflies, but I'm going to skip that one this time. I'm going to bring in the third layer of the stencil, and this layer is going to color in the flowers. It also would color in the moon and the stars, which I will show you later on. So I just used that same color, the Cornflower Ink, for my flower tops. Now the next layer is going to add details to the flowers and also has an area for the stems. What I'm going to do is I placed my third layer back on top and then this fourth layer. That way I don't have to mask off my leaves. I can just come in with some Nautical Ink and add the detail to the flowers. So you can see we have a little bit of darker color there in the flowers. Now I cleaned off that fourth stencil, and then I'm placing it back over my panel, and this time I'm coming in with a mini blending brush and some Green Hills ink, and I'm going to add that color to the leaves and the stem. Now keep in mind there's also that open area of the flowers, so I'm being really careful not to kind of over blend. You can use some Post-it tape and mask off those areas if you prefer. Mini ink blending brushes come in super handy for this. So here's a look at my panel where I die cut out the window, but I also did a panel where I did not do the window. I just used the layering stencil, and you get beautiful results for that too. Next, I'm going to create a background for my window. So for this, I'm using the Fluttering Butterflies bold print. This is part of the regular Hero Arts release this month, and I'm using Periwinkle Cardstock. Now, because this is a red rubber stamp and it is foam mounted, I removed the insert in my Misty tool, placed my cardstock down, and then I'm inking up this bold print with some watermark and embossing ink. My first idea for this was just to have kind of that watermark look in the background, but then an idea hit me, and that was to grab my Satin Pearl embossing powder. So I sprinkled that over my entire background. I tapped off my excess, and then I'm making sure my heat tool is nice and hot, and I can come in and melt the embossing powder. And so what this is going to do is it kind of appears white because it is white satin pearl, but because it is on this cardstock and it has that pearly kind of look to it, it does give that watermark effect, but has that pearlescent shine to it too. So really glad I used that white satin pearl. Now back to my window panel, there are open areas for stars and moon, and I wanted to add some glitter behind that. So what I did, this is going to look a little messy, is I took some gold glitter paper and I trimmed it down into some small pieces, and I'm taping it to the back side of my window. Nobody's going to see this. Nobody knows this but me and you now. But what this is going to do is have the moon and the stars have that glitter behind it, which I thought looked really beautiful. Now I do want to give this a little bit of dimension. So I'm taking my Altenew foam tape and I'm going to add this all around my back panel here. This would also be really great for a shaker card, which I did think about doing, but I didn't want the inside of my window to get too busy. I really liked how I had kind of that watermark look with that pearl shine to it looking through the window. Now I just need to create a sentiment. So I'm going to use the stamp set included in the classic kit, and I have a piece of white cardstock here that I'm prepping with my anti-static powder tool. I'm going to ink up my sentiment with the Watermark and Embossing ink and stamp that down. You may need to condition your stamp to get a better impression when you're stamping, or you could stamp it twice. And then I'm sprinkling on some gold embossing powder. I'm going to melt that, and since my paper didn't warp too bad, I decided I was going to double heat emboss. So I let that cool for a few minutes, prepped it again with my anti-static powder tool. I never removed the stamp from my Mindy, so it's in the perfect placement. I can just ink that up again with that embossing ink and stamp that down. And then you can kind of tell if it's perfectly lined up or if it's shifted. It'll have kind of that watermark look to it if it's not lined up perfectly. But since I knew this did line up really well, I sprinkled on that gold embossing powder again, melted it with my heat tool, and now we have this beautiful dimension to our delicate sentiment. I love doing double heat embossing when I get the chance. To die cut this out, I'm going to use the Circles Infinity die. I just picked a size that would fit my sentiment really well. So I'm going to just line that up over the sentiment, hold that down with a low tack tape, and run that through my die cut machine. I also die cut a second one just to add some stability behind that. And then I can place some foam tape behind my circle sentiment. And once I remove the backing, I like to use my tweezers, and I can get that placed right in the middle. So that finishes off my first card. Now this is using just the classic kit. Now I'm going to jump in using elements from the premium kit. So here I really liked using that white satin pearl embossing powder. So I took a piece of the cardstock from the kit. Now this has a pearlescent sheen to it, which is really pretty. There's a few different colors in there that have that pearlescent sheen to the cardstock. So once again, I used the Fluttering butterflies, stamped that in the Watermark and Embossing ink, sprinkling on my white satin pearl embossing powder, and then I'm going to melt that. Now what I noticed when I was melting my embossing powder is the cardstock kind of changed color a little bit. I can't really tell in the end if it kind of stayed that way or if it went back to its regular color. Either way, I love how that looked with all that pearlescent shine. So I went ahead and created another window panel with white cardstock, and this time I layered behind the stars and the moon with silver glitter paper. Now we're coming to the premium kit. So there are 4 sheets of these butterfly rub-ons in the premium kit, plus these butterfly fancy dies and coordinating frame cuts. What's really cool is those frame cuts fit around the butterflies on the transfer sheets, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Now, these were some stars that I had trimmed out previously from some other projects I was working on, and I went ahead and I'm adding them to the front of my panel. If you're going to do this, I do suggest adding these rub-ons to the front of your card before you put anything behind it. Like I have all those silver glitter papers kind of pieced behind my panel, and it did create some uneven spots. So I would suggest doing this before you do anything to your back panel. Now to use the rub-ons, all you need to do is take your scissors, pick out your elements or your butterflies, and trim them out. So each individual piece you want to trim out if you plan on die cutting them. So I'm just picking out a few of the butterflies that I think would match the front of my card. I liked the purple, but I also was really drawn to this black butterfly. I thought it would stand out really nice against my white and purple background. So I'm taking that scratch piece of cardstock that I die cut from earlier. You take the rub-on and you just kind of peel it off the backer piece and take the included popsicle stick and just rub over all of those areas. Then you would peel this up slowly. Now, if you do it slow enough, you'll be able to tell if anything did not transfer, and you can place it back down and rub over it to get this transferred. And you'll know it's all transferred when that top sheet is completely clear. And these colors, the designs, the detail is amazing on these transfer sheets. I love them for not only cards, but they're going to work great in any type of journaling projects or planners. So I used the coordinating dies to die cut out those 2 butterflies. And then once again, I took my window panel and lined it with some foam tape just to give it a little bit of lift from the background. I also took some foam tape and I added some to the back of my butterfly. So I really liked the purple one. I'm going to save that butterfly, but I just thought the black butterfly popped more. I heat embossed a sentiment off screen using the stamp set included in the kit, and I embossed that in the silver to match my silver glitter that I have on my window panel and added that to the front of my card. So that finishes off this card. One more card I want to share with you today is going to be using this Fuchsia and Gold Luster Duo Spray. So what this is in the premium kit, is it's a bottle that has powder in it, and you fill it up about halfway with water and then make sure to shake it up really, really good. I have this tonic mat laid out and I'm going to spray this onto that tonic mat and then use some watercolor paper. I just kind of give it a quick spritz of water and then I'm going to smush this into that spray. And this is so vibrant and gorgeous. It's really hard to catch that gold that's in there, but the gold, once you turn it into the light, is absolutely amazing. I'm really crossing fingers that Hero Arts comes out with more of these. So I want to do some more ink smushing. So I'm just taking my heat tool to dry my panel, and then I'm going to put this back into the mixture that I already have on my work surface. Now, one of the reasons I'm using this tonic mat instead of my glass surface is that the spray kind of beads up a little differently on this mat than it does a glass surface. So I just kind of spritzed that mixture with a little bit of water, smushed my cardstock back into that, and then I just have all this beautiful texture on there, and it's such a nice vibrant pink. I'll dry that once more with my heat tool, and then something else I wanted to show you is that it reacts with water. So I have a mister bottle here that I'm just kind of spraying down onto my cardstock and then dabbing that with my paper towel. You can see kind of on my paper towel, there was a lot of pink on there, so it's creating kind of those water spots like it would with the reactive ink pads. Now, another thing I really, really love from this release this month, this is part of the regular release, is the script stencil. There is so much detail in this stencil and it transfers over amazing. I was super impressed. So I took my gold hero paste and my palette knife and I'm just spreading this kind of over the center of my card panel, really willy-nilly. I'm not being very precise about this on purpose. I want the edges to be scattered. I just kind of wanted it to be a subtle interest to the background. So once I kind of have that on there and I smoothed it out, I'm going to remove the stencil and I will wash this right away in my sink, but be very, very gentle in washing it. So once I have that kind of dried, I'll give you a closer look. The gold, it's really awesome in person, but there's one I did earlier where I sprayed and ink smushed the background, and then I applied white pearl hero paste over the background. So here's a closer look at the gold. I'm going to save this, but I didn't use it on today's card. I really liked how this white pearl paste looked. It's almost like it's, I don't know, like invisible ink or something. It just looked really neat. So I'm going to use that instead. Now I took the fancy dies from the premium kit and I die cut them out of white cardstock. I aligned them over the panel that I had trimmed down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I picked that up with some press and seal. Then I went behind each of those pieces and I added foam tape. So I'm going to pop it up from my panel. Then I can place my press and seal back over, push that down to secure the foam tape down, and then just carefully peel off that press and seal. So everything is in that same arrangement that I started with. I took this panel and I trimmed it down to about 3 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to place this on a weight card front that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I'm also going to add some silver strips of cardstock to the very edges. I'm also going to be adding foam tape behind it just to kind of pop it up from the white card front a little bit. Then off screen, I heat embossed a sentiment off of the Message Strips XL, and I just did that on pitch black cardstock and heat embossed with white embossing powder. So that's just a skinny little strip, and I really have the focus of the butterflies and the background there on my card front. Now, if you're already a subscriber of the kits, you're going to get the premium elements at no additional cost this month. Starting today, subscribers can upgrade to the premium kit, so you can get that premium kit for March. Or if you're not a subscriber yet, I highly recommend subscribing because these are amazing kits. If you want to just try it out, they do offer these products individually on the website, but once they sell out, they're gone. Same as the kit. Once they sell out, they're not restocked. So if you're kind of excited about this like I am, I would not hesitate on getting these. And if you're not into card kits, I hope you still found inspiration in this video. All the supplies will be listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well, and I do have more information over there on these kits. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.